Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She is the former chair of the Democratic National Committee, part of the bipartisan group of lawmakers who introduced a resolution reaffirming congressional support for Cuba's people. Congresswoman, it is a pleasure to see you. Thank you for being with me this morning.
Good to be with you, Jose. Thank you so much.
We've seen demonstrations here in the U.S. In support of the Cuban people. Many want to see bolder action from the U.S. against the Cuban government. How do you see things?
Well, first of all, the July 11th historic protests across most major cities in Cuba were so incredibly important. And, you know, the fact that the regime and other Cuba supporters were downplaying them as being related to COVID or to, you know, economic pressure, rather than the burning desire of the Cuban people to be free and to be able to elect their own leaders and to be able to make their own decisions in their own right without fear of repression, was very clear. And so I am so thankful that the Biden administration not only has left the sanctions in place that were put in place by the last administration, but now have added more sanctions and began targeting individuals and the oppressive agencies like the Cuban Revolutionary Guard and the Black Berets and individual actors who have really caused misery for Cubans. After those protests, there are something like 700 political prisoners who remain in jail. And many of them, as you know, Jose, were put there on trumped-up charges and had no due process and with their sentencing.
Congressman, is there something that the United States could or should do, or something the United States should not do to help the Cuban people at this time?
Right now, President Biden has been doing everything that he can and really has led an effort across the region and the world to not only make sure that our sanctions are enhanced, but also has really stood up something like a U.S. Geek Squad to try to make sure that we can help restore internet access on the island. That's really critical. They're looking for ways that can be done so that it isn't able to be easily disabled by the Cuban regime, and then rallying countries from around the world against the Cuban regime has been critical. Doing that not only in Latin America, but also with many of our EU allies. But frankly, we need to continue to put pressure on countries like Germany, France, and the UK, because none of them signed on to the individual, the United States call. Some of them did sign on to the EU call. And so making sure that we bring world pressure, which is being led, thankfully, by the Biden administration on Cuba, will help us be able to give momentum to those protesters. That's so critical right now.
Yeah, I also want to talk about the bipartisan infrastructure bill, Congresswoman, which is on the cusp of crossing the finish line in the Senate. If a vote were held in the House right now, would you vote for it?
You know, of course, we want to make sure that we can pass as much infrastructure investment as possible. This is a huge down payment on the Build Back Better effort. I'm willing to support it as long as we see momentum and a forward-moving process on the reconciliation package, which my understanding is going to also be forthcoming. We expect a budget resolution from the Senate and reconciliation instructions. And so as long as that process is moving forward, I could see myself voting for the infrastructure compromise that comes from the Senate.
So I'm not hearing a dogmatic yes, right? You still have to see things.
Well, yeah. I mean, the devil is in the details. I certainly wanted to see more investment in an infrastructure package. But this is, look, we have a situation where we have to work together. We should always be working together. Making sure that we can make the child care tax credit, the child tax credit permanent. That's absolutely essential. Making sure that we can make the kinds of investments that we need to make to take care of people's health care, to make sure that we can keep roofs over the heads of so many who are struggling with housing costs, making sure that we can continue to invest in job creation. That 943,000 jobs report today was fantastic news. And now we need to make sure that we continue to build back better, make more historic investments so that we can focus on more job creation and really put some firepower behind our economic progress.
Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, it's a pleasure to see you. Thank you for being with me this morning. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.